Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for coming back. I always appreciate you sharing your time with me. Today is April the 2023. So I will share some update with you. So I will start with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's visit in Nekemt and the statements he made in his discussion with local residents. So I will start with that one and proceed to other update. Thank you for coming back. Let's get started with this video. It's in Amharic. No, it's in Oromo, Afan Oromo, but I will just try to translate it in English roughly.
Hailee Fidaan, Leetolataan, namoonni baay'ee walqixxummaaf, bilisummaaf namoonni qabsa'an adda durummaan waamamuu danda'an as keessaa ba'an. Gama gootummaaf waraanaas yoo ta'e, kaleessa Abdiisaa Agaa kaasuu dandeenya. Uummata Itoophiyaa guutuu gootummaa isaatiin kan waamsisedha. Ammas akka Itoophiyaatti jeneraala guutuu kan ta'e, jeneraala matsaafaan tiyeeriidhaan duwwaa osoo hin taane hojii qabatamaan gootummaa addaan wanta Itoophiyaa irratti uumame jijjiiruu kan danda'e gootni keessan Geetaachoo Guddinaa asumaa ba'e. Maaliif Oromoon abboomamuu rakkatee sofagoo deemuu danda'u qe'eetti hafaa kan jedhu jaarsoliin booddee qoratan. Garuu immoo jalqaba Oonismoos Nasiib jalqabee Guddinaa Tumsaafaatti kennee obbo Gidaalaafaatti kennee jalqabbiin sun osoo fiixaan ba'ee jiraate osoo hafuurri sun cabee jiraate silaa walii abboomamuu rakkoo hin ta'u. Rakkoo keessoo keenyaa hiikkannee jennaan inni kaan nama yaaddeessadee yaadu gama kooti. Kanaaf namoonni yaadni keessan yookaan yaadni jara nurraa adda ta'e tokkoffaa guyyaa har'aatii kaasanii nagaan galuu danda'u. Lammaffaa nagaan galanii tarsiimoo isaanii, kaayyoo isaanii, yaada isaanii uummata isaaniitti ibsachuu danda'u. Baay'eeti waggaa sadii filannoon uummata Wallaggaa, uummata beekaa kan yaada gaarii qabaatanii amansiisanii jennaan uummanni filatu. Warri yaada keenya jibbitanii qabsooftanis ergaan kun hundaaf waan ta'eef daandii hojjetamu hundaafsisina. Daandiin kun uummata keessaniif waan ta'eef dhugaa Oromoo taatan Oromoof qabsooftu yoo ta'e carraan kun nu darbuu hin qabu waan ta'eef hojii misoomaa, bu'uura misoomaa dhaabsisuun sirrii hundi keenya eegnee hojjechiisuu qabu.
What great things you will do in your life or not, that is subject to various realities. Whether you will climb Mount Everest or not, we do not know. Trial or no trial.
Okay, I'll come back to Senator Schumer's statement on Fox News and Dominion settlement. So what the Prime Minister is saying, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia is saying, he's answering the pressure coming from religious leaders, cultural leaders, and ordinary citizens, politicians call for a peaceful settlement for the war, for the ongoing war in Oromia region. That is the issue. So he answered it in a, in a different way, in a tricky way. uh, he's not trustworthy really. He just tried to cool down the question and just giving the answer for the sake of answering, but he's not truthful. He has been, for a while, since the beginning of the call for settling the political crisis, the war uh, in Oromia, just like the one happened with the Tigray region in a peaceful manner. But his government ignored it. There are something saying for the public in certain way, and again reverse their speech in a different setting. So they are, there is lack of consistency. So there is lack of trust from this leadership really, and he is, mentioning the Wolaga contribution for historical leaders, fighters, freedom fighters, those who are fighting for equality, and those who are fought for Ethiopia. Just mentioning some names like Abdisaga, Lenj Olata, Haile Fida, all those, just to give the Nekemt people a little bit proud. But he is not trustful really. He said those who are opposing the prosperity agenda, those who are against the prosperity agenda, including OLA, they can peacefully compete, present their agenda to the public, and get elected in Wolaga or elsewhere. That's what he's saying. But what we know from the past election, or since he came into power 2018, he has been arresting OLF officials, Oromo Federalist Congress members and officials, shutting down their offices. So this is not truth. This is not truth. This is not the Abiy we know, but it's just tricking and cheating these people. I don't think they know, these people. They know, but they have no choice except listening to him. They cannot challenge him. They cannot ask him, okay, if the field is open to everyone, why you put OLF officials, supporters in thousands in jail? Why you shut down their office? They could ask him, but there is no chance. But he's saying OLF and others can voluntarily come back and present their agenda, their opposite views on politics, and get elected. He also say if OLA is like the criticisms against OLA, if OLA is fighting for Oromo people, why they are destroying the roads and obstructing the development, and he's calling on the the Oromos, the Nekemtes, to fight against such obstacles against the development. So that's the highlight of his speech, but that's nothing, no truth, no trust really from his speech, but that is, to share the whereabouts of the Prime Minister and what he's saying to the public in a public setting, but what he has been doing. He has been holding OLF and other politicians in jail after the court allowed them to be released, and some of them, like Ananisa suffering very badly in prison and others. So he just saying, for the sake of publicity, but in reality he is an evil man. Really, he's a very evil man. In addition to this, what Prosperity Party is doing to the Eastern Hararghe farmers who are dependent on the cat is a commercial plant, known in that area, the plant that the people survive on year after year, and now the government is banned the sale of this plant and causing great damage to the people in Awadai, Badesa, Galamso, all these people dependent on this cat or chat in Amharic. So it's a commercial plant, but the government denied the farmers not to sell this product, and then they're now wasting it. They are wasting it because of the government evil intention against the people. And we don't know anything about the Borona hunger and the drought and the Guji because the media is not covering it anymore. We don't know what the situation. The government concealed it, denied the media coverage, and we don't know the situation. So that is the reality in Ethiopia, not the one we hear in public, on a public setting. That is fake one. The reality is what they are doing in reality. They are evil, really. They are very bad, very bad. They are not ready to settle the war. They are still keeping thousands and thousands of Oromos in jail, and they are banning, farm products not to sell and to survive, especially the one I said in Eastern Hararghe, Oromia region. And we don't know the ongoing hunger and drought impact in Borana and Guji. So let's continue with other news. I will come back to Schumer and United Nations chief's visits to show solidarity for Ramadan. So I have a couple of news from Addis Standard. That's my reference for English news from Ethiopia, plus BBC and US State Department. Opposition OLF says 7 of its officials in police custody in Burayu missing. This is the reality I'm talking about. 7 senior officials of the Opposition Oromo Liberation Front, OLF, who have been imprisoned for nearly 3 years and are currently in police custody in Burayu, have been missing since the evening of 18 April. The party has said. So, OLF Public Relations Head Lammi Gammachu told Addis Standard that the missing party officials are Executive Committee members Abdi Ragasa and Mikhail Boran, Central Committee member Kananisa Ayana, OLF Gulalle Main Office Head Gada Algeria, PhD, and senior officials Dawit Abdata, Lammi Benya, and Gada Gabisa. So these are the OLF senior officials missing from the government prison. According to Lammi, the officers were taken out of Burayu prison late last night, and their whereabouts is currently unknown. In the evening, their families have delivered them food, and when they returned to ask them this morning, they got an answer that they are not here. The police there say they don't know where the OLF officials are, said Lammi. On 11th April, the Oromo Liberation Front said in a statement that its imprisoned officials were suffering from different diseases and their health condition was deteriorating from day to day. The party urged the government to immediately release its officials, whom it is said were imprisoned without any wrongdoing and against court ruling. In late February, Addis Standard reported that Kananisa Ayana, member of the Central Committee of the Opposition Oromo Liberation Front, OLF, and 3 other senior officials of the party have been critically ill and denied urgent treatment. Some of the now missing 7 leaders and officials of the party have remained in prison despite repetitive court orders of their release, while others without any prosecutions brought against them at all. In May last year, the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission released a report following an investigation into the detention of the party's leader in various detention centers in Oromia. The report confirmed that many OLF leaders and members are illegally detained and were subjected to abuse. The OLF has been repeatedly demanding the release of its leaders since they were imprisoned in 2019, and all times accusing the police of torturing them while in detention center. So that is the reality. What Abiy was talking in the public is different. And in reality he is abusing the Ethiopia's constitution, illegally detaining individuals and torturing them and moving them from prison to prison without the consent of the lawyers and the family. You know, that is a reality. So how are you going to come back and compete with such kind of system? How are you going to compete freely, presenting your agenda and win against this really corrupt system? Amnesty International urges Ethiopia to respect right to peaceful protest, immediate release of detained media staff. Ethiopian authorities must immediately release 7 media staff detained against a backdrop of rising violence in the Amhara region, investigate allegations of physical assault against one of them, and protect the right to freedom of expression and a peaceful protest for all, Amnesty International said on April 18, 2023. The human rights organization is concerned about reports of violations and violence in Amhara, where exchanges of gunfire have been reported in multiple locations, including the killing of 2 humanitarian workers on 9th April and the mass arrests in the regional and the national capital, Addis Ababa. Government forces and other armed actors have the duty not to target humanitarian workers. The government of Ethiopia should promptly, thoroughly, independently, and effectively investigate the incident and bring perpetrators to justice in fair trials. I hope they will get fair trials. The chilling arrests of Gannet Asmamaw, Getnet Arragaw Sisai, Maskaram Abarra, Abbay Zawdu, David Bagashaw, and Theodros Asfaw are an attack on the rights to freedom of expression and media freedom. Authorities must immediately release all 7 journalists and drop all charges against them. They must also investigate reports that Gannat Asmama was violently assaulted when she was arrested and hold the perpetrators accountable. Said Flavia Moangovia, Amnesty International's Deputy Regional Director for Campaigns East Africa, Horn Africa, and the Great Lakes regions. Journalists and media workers need to be able to do their work without any threat, intimidation, and harassment to effectively carry out their professional duties of informing the public and contributing to holding authorities accountable. Everyone has the right to freedom of expression and a peaceful assembly, and authorities must allow people to exercise their right to protect. As reports of exchange of fire emerged in multiple locations in the Amara region, we urge the federal government and the regional authorities to protect the population and their property. Residents of Addis Ababa who have been subjected to unlawful mass detentions should be charged with a recognized crime in a process that ensures their right to a fair trial. Otherwise, they must be released immediately. Finally, as Ethiopia enters the third month of a government-imposed blockade on selected social media platforms, Amnesty International calls on authorities to remove restriction on human rights offline and online, including the rights to freedom of expression and access to information, said Flavia Muangovia. Ethiopia, alongside its neighbor Eritrea, remains sub-Saharan Africa's worst jailer of journalists. Last year, Ethiopia was also among the top 5 countries in the world where many humanitarian workers were targeted. No good name, really. Very bad record. This is about a conversation between Abiy Ahmed and Prime Minister of Canada. So this is a readout of their conversation, which has happened on 19th of April 2023. Abiy Trudeau discussed Ethiopia's peace, Sudan conflict on phone. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke on April 19 with the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed on the phone, Trudeau's office said. In a readout, the Prime Minister congratulated Prime Minister Abiy on the peace agreement signed in November 2022 and on the country's progress implementing the agreement, the statement said. Furthermore, the two leaders discussed ongoing efforts to establish a lasting peace in Ethiopia, and Prime Minister Trudeau reaffirmed Canada's ongoing commitment to supporting these efforts and the next steps for the National Dialogue Commission and the ongoing work to secure financing for the reconstruction and the recovery in Ethiopia's conflict zone. The two have also discussed the ongoing military confrontation in Sudan and the current African-led mediation effort to find a resolution to the crisis. They expressed their deep concerns about the impact of these events, including on civilians and on regional stability, the readout said, adding they agreed to stay in close touch. This is reported by Dispatch. This is from, I have two from State Department, US State Department. The first one is additional U.S. security assistance for Ukraine. Anthony J. Blinken, Secretary of State, on April 19, 2023. We will continue to stand with our Ukrainian partners in response to Russia's continued war of aggression. Pursuant to a delegation of authority from President Biden, I am authorizing our 36th drawdown of U.S. arms and equipment for Ukraine, valued at $325 million. This security assistance package includes more ammunition for U.S. provided HIMARS and artillery rounds, as well as anti-armor systems, small arms, logistics support vehicles, and maintenance support essential to strengthening Ukraine's defenders on the battlefield. This new security assistance will enable Ukraine to continue to bravely defend itself in the face of Russia's brutal and unprovoked and unjustified war. Russia could end its war today. Until Russia does, the United States and our allies and partners will stand united with Ukraine for as long as it takes. Okay. So that war is not ending, and Ukraine is getting all kind of assistance, but all kind of assistance is not stopping Russia from destroying that country. So, a statement on arrest of political opponent in Tunisia. This is again from U.S. State Department. The arrests by the Tunisian government of political opponents and critics are fundamentally at odds with the principles Tunisians adopted in the constitution that explicitly guarantees freedom of opinion, thought, and expression. The arrest on Monday of former Speaker of Parliament Rachid Ghannouchi, the closure of the Ennahda party headquarters, and the banning of meetings held by certain opposition groups, and the Tunisian government's implication that these actions are based on public statement, represent a troubling escalation by the Tunisian government against perceived opponents. The Tunisian government's obligation to respect freedom of expression and other human rights is larger than any individual or political party and is essential to a vibrant democracy and to the US-Tunisia relationship. But that country heading in a wrong direction under the current leadership. Yeah, the revolution is becoming a dictatorship in Tunisia. This is a little bit update on Sudan. Sudan's RSF, Rapid Support Force, RSF, says it has downed Army helicopters. Sudan's paramilitary group, Rapid Support Force, RSF, alleges it has shot down 2 military helicopters in reprisal attack against the army. The group said the army attacked its fighters in Omdurman, near the capital Khartoum, on Thursday morning, despite the truce announced on Wednesday. But the forces responded to the attack and inflicted heavy losses on the purchased in lives and equipment, including the shooting down of 2 helicopters, the RSF said in a statement posted on Twitter. The paramilitary group said it remained committed to the ceasefire. The army is yet to comment on RSF attack claim. Credit BBC. Another one from BBC. Nigeria denies defaulting on Chinese loans. Nigeria's Debt Management Office, or DMO, has denied claims that the federal government defaulted in the payment of interest to China for loans. Local media had reported that Nigeria accrued a penalty of 90 million or 81 million euro after its debt from China accumulated to 240 million or 217 million euro in the last 2 years. The loans were reportedly taken to renovate some of the country's railway lines. In a statement on Wednesday, the Debt Management Office termed the reports false, saying Nigeria was fully committed to honoring its debt obligation and had not defaulted on any of its debt service commitment. Nigeria remains unwaveringly committed to fulfilling its debt obligations in a reasonable and a timely manner, the statement added. It urged the public to ignore the reports. As of December 2021, the Debt Management Office said Nigeria's debt to China stood at $4.1 billion. It was, however, silent on the current status of the Chinese loans to Nigeria. Nigeria has, in recent years, suffered revenue losses following a spate of attacks on rail tracks and the kidnap of train passengers that resulted in the stoppage of train services on some routes for a while. That's again from BBC. So always the government, they deny the report, but how the media report false about this big thing, Nigeria falling to Chinese debt and unable to pay Chinese debt. That's a serious one. This is a serious problem in getting loan from China. China will give you money, then in whatever amount you want, then you will not be able to pay. Then they will take your airport or take advantage of whatever you have. So that's a serious relationship between African countries and China. So now the media reported about Nigeria and the Nigerian government is denying. So we'll see. That's all I have in reading. Let's share a couple of videos and end today's presentation. Thank you.
The world sees that Fox News knowingly and intentionally lied to the country about the 2020 election. The amazing thing is that Fox knew that these were lies, and they still put that propaganda on the air. And it's not just trivial lies, lies that go to the essence of our democracy. To think that the leaders of Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, don't give a hoot about democracy, and still will put these lies on for political or mercenary purposes is just galling, appalling, and frankly, downright against what America stands for and has stood for hundreds of years. Fox commentators spread conspiracy theories and passed them off as news. They spread distrust in our democracy and claimed it was a legitimate concern. So Fox News' legacy and Rupert Murdoch's legacy is forever sealed as the network that sought to undermine American democracy one primetime segment at a time.
Okay, this is the
Ramadan
last
is
one.
the moment where we should think about what we are doing. Think about how necessary it is to bring peace to the world, how necessary it is to bring solidarity to the world, to fight inequalities, to create conditions for the cohesion of societies, for minorities to be respected. So every year I went to a country with refugee camps or with refugee settlements of different sorts, and I would stay there for a certain amount of time and fasting and respecting, of course, the tradition and the religious values of the people I was with. And the majority of the communities hosting refugees with enormous generosity and solidarity were Muslim. I could see the true face of Islam. I mean, the sense of peace, the sense of solidarity, the sense of generosity that I witnessed, and also the resilience, the courage of the refugees themselves was extremely inspiring, and it remains a very important inspiration of everything I do today as Secretary General of the United Nations. This is the moment for us to be all united for peace. Peace is the most precious thing that we can have in the world, and peace is dramatically lacking today in so many parts of our planet. So this is the moment to come together, and for those that believe in God in different ways, with different expressions, to join their voices in a common prayer for peace.
Okay, thank you to UN Chief Antonio Guterres to his solidarity visit in sharing with Ramadan or fasting season, and delivering a message for peace. Peace is very essential wherever you live. So let me conclude today's presentation by saying Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the Prosperity Party, they must come to the truth. They must tell the truth to the public. Stop cheating. And, start accommodating those fighting in Oromia, OLF forces. Truthfully, be truthful. Don't try to just, try to mislead the public or cheat the public. Call openly for dialogue. You cannot just say they can come in and compete and present their agenda to the public and get elected. That's a fake one. That's not true. You are not allowing that kind of things to happen. So stop cheating. Excuse me. Stop cheating and be truthful to the public. That's much better for you. And you just keep cheating since you came to power, and the lies, and these are your character. So be honest, open to the dialogue, and bring these people to the negotiating table. You have the upper hand because the money, the tank is in your hand, and so you can initiate this thing to settle, to end the war in Oromia. And please also don't play with the lives of those politicians, OLF officials, or of ECO. Please release them. You have no constitutional right to hold them. You are holding them illegally against the constitution, against the justice system. Release them. They are suffering in your private prison cells for no reason. For no reason. So please release them. And please allow Ethiopians, Oromos to know the updates in Borana and Guji. What is happening? We have no information. We have no information. So that is now for a while it's silent. Please also stop banning the commercial plant in Eastern Hararge, the kerk. That's the livelihood of that region. Awadai, Readout, Galamso, Badesa, Mies, all these people, the main commercial plant is cat. So please, don't play with the lives of these people. You are waging economic war and you are waging military war. Please stop. Enough is enough. So that's all I'm gonna say for today. I will be back with other news and update. Thank you for joining me. Be safe and so long, everyone.